Hey guys,
Welcome back. It's the Red Bells podcast.
With another episode.
I'm Addie,
I'm Zach. I'm B-Man.
And I'm Vinny.
and today we are going to be talking about if Thanos was right. Oh, in today's episode, like we already mentioned, we're going to be talking about whether Thanos was right or not. So, I think all of us have varying opinions. We haven't even really touched on this yet.
Discussed this as a group yet.
We have not discussed this.
Yeah.
We brought it up over text and we just never. So like I have my opinion. Like what are yours? What are yours? Like of what's
Okay,
the
I guess let's start with this. What are we debating if Thanos was right or not about? That's the first question.
So, okay. For me, Thanos in the beginning was not necessarily a bad guy. Hear me out. He had good intentions. He really did. And he, in his eyes, and probably in the eyes of the people around him, he was a superhero. For him, personally. Because he's going out and he's technically saving the lives of so many generations. Because if you look at, for example, Gamora's planet, I can feel bravery judging me through the screen. If you look at Gamora's planet, it was dying. It was literally in shambles. No one could feed themselves.
Mhm.
The air was barely breathable. Like, so much stuff was going wrong. And there wasn't any nearby planets to help out. There was nothing anyone could do. So, yes, the way he did it was not the best. And I'm not defending Thanos on any level of, like, what he did to the Avengers. That's, like, a whole different set of things. But he technically did save Gamora. She was gonna die if she stayed there. And when he was talking to Gamora in Infinity War, when she's like, you kidnapped me, and he's like, all of those kids know nothing about, like, hunger, like, they all have full bellies, they have clear skies. He's not wrong. Those kids are living great lives now. I mean, yeah, they have some bad history chapters, but, you know, those generations are good now, and that wouldn't have been possible if Thanos didn't do what he did. Because what would have happened is the planet would have ran itself into the ground, and then all life would have been wiped out. And then, you know.
Right.
Yeah.
No, I definitely see that point, but also there comes I took an ethics class in college. Who can choose who lives and who dies? No one person should have that authority to pick who chooses and who dies. And when he kind of puts himself in that position, right, then it just becomes to the point where, like, if you're one of the lucky ones, great, but if you're not, then what's your thought process going to be? How is that fair for you? Like, how are things fair and equal across the whole board here? Because it's not. But also, that is a good point. He did save some of those lives, but it's like, you know, can we trust the way he selected the people? Can we trust the methods he used to choose who lived and who died? That sort of.
Okay, so, like, that's kind of when you get into where he kind of became more, like, villainous, I guess, because he, like, at least what we saw on Gamora's planet, it was just a part the crowd, bop, 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 on one side.
Right.
You know, and it wasn't really like he looked at, you know, but then once you get towards, like, you know, I guess.
Split up families.
Yeah, split up families and, like, you know, I feel like, because there was so much we didn't see of how many planets he actually, like, did that to. I feel like later down the line, he probably was kind of like, let's keep these people. Like, for whatever his reasons were, he probably had ideas of who should live, who should not. And that's when it gets...
Imagine if he had done it to the entire multiverse.
Oh my.
That would have been...
Dude.
That's not the only thing I have to say. I'm waiting for the two of you to finish, though, because I'm in between the two of you.
Okay, I have one
Okay.
more. Okay, I have a point, too. So, this kind of far strays away, and I think this is a really good topic for another podcast, but Ultron. So, like, when you look at these, like, big villains, when they're giving their, like, villain speech or whatever, like, you know, like, they always have, like, an iconic, like, you can't defeat me. Like,
Ultron was right.
Ultron was kind of right too. And like
Ultron was
Technically-
completely right. Let's be real. Look at
Ultron
the
was on
world in
the-
2024. Ultron was right.
Ultron was on the internet for
Yeah.
5 minutes and knew that some of us needed to go. Like,
He was
He's
online
like, you
for
know
5
what?
minutes, downloaded everything in the universe, and was like, "Oh yeah, no, y'all screwed."
yeah. Well, and then there was
Like,
this
yeah.
there's this quote from Ultron that I like think about all the time. And it was like, when the earth starts to settle, God throws a stone at it. And if you look at history, that
Uh-huh. Yeah.
kind of happens. Like every 100
Yeah,
years.
no, that
COVID,
yeah. It's one of my favorite lines from
It's-
Ultron. I love it.
it's like bone chilling.
He's not wrong.
He's not.
He's not. So when you kind of look, and then Thanos, I'm trying to remember the exact speech he gave or something, but he says a lot of things in Infinity War that technically kind of aren't wrong, and he thinks he's doing the good thing. And then also when he destroyed the stones, that was a good, like, I don't think he should have used the stones to wipe out half the planet. Like, yeah, that was a more merciful way of killing people, but like, destroying the stones is what really needed to happen in the beginning. Those are too powerful. Like, I get their paperweights in Loki's universe. That's different. But like,
Well, they're
They
only
were-
paperweights in the TVA because the TVA has no magic, no powers, anything like that. Otherwise, they would still have just as much power.
yeah.
There's just an infinite amount in every multiverse. There is a set of or a set of Infinity Stones.
Yeah, and I think
Right.
Thanos' idea of destroying the stones, like, that needed to happen, and like that's kind of, I mean, we didn't do it, but like, you know, that's what actually kind of needed to happen. You know, so he was kind of right in that aspect, but then he was kind of wrong when, like, this is the stupidest thing. I was at work when I thought of this. He was wrong when he called Spider-Man an insect because he's an arachnid, not. So,
Yeah. Yeah. Exactly.
He was wrong there.
Like, what the heck, man?
but
Yeah, his method worked, but
At
it,
what
it, it wasn't really the correct choice.
yeah.
I feel like if you go through all the trouble making a gauntlet and taking all 6 Infinity Stones, how about instead of snapping half the universe away, you just double the planet's resources?
Or filter the oxygen better for the one planet.
Come on,
Like,
man. I feel like with all 6 Infinity Stones, you could have just made the lives of the existing population
better.
so much
Like, use
better.
the reality stone and make the world bigger. Like, or all the planets
Yeah,
bigger.
just
Right.
more
That's
I was
like,
gonna say
yeah.
the Reality Stone alone would have made like human life more
Right. Exactly.
better.
Right.
Point.
What's up, Addie?
So,
I
so,
see you're
so what do
raising
you
your
say to
hand.
that, Addie?
Just a little. Okay, so if you, okay, I feel so bad because I feel like I'm defending Thanos right now. I am not, by all means. I'm just thinking about this logically from a standing back point. If you were to do that, if you were to bring a bunch of food, filter the oxygen, they're just gonna populate more. And then you run into the same issue of overcrowding. So, like, yeah, I guess with the stones, there's a way where you could be like, oh, but that doesn't happen. Like, you know, who knows what you can do with stones. There's probably a way to go around that. But, like, at least, this sounds so mean. If you kill, like, half the population, they're going to be sad for a while. So they're probably going to not make kids as often. And then it'll go, and then, yeah, you'll get back to the...
You're not wrong.
the overcrowd.
Look at the Great Depression.
Yeah.
Look at history.
Yeah.
You're
Look
not
at
wrong.
history.
Look
Yeah.
at history.
Right.
Because if you look at history, you'll see that every time that there's been a crazy situation happen in the world or in our economy in the US, the world stops. And then what happened after the Great Depression? The next generation was called baby boomers. Like, that's what's gonna happen in any massive like casualty or loss situation. That's how humans are. Their instinct is to reproduce and create more and not let the population die out. So to play devil's advocate, I think you're right, but I think you're wrong. I think
yeah.
that personally, my opinion, I'm going to interject with my opinion. He was perfectly balanced, all things in his own words. He was 50% good, 50% evil. And I feel that because he had a heart, and he was a monster. He was a monster who wiped out half of the universe, but he was a monster with a heart who raised a little girl on a planet that he wiped out. I think that part of him allowed him, and that the part of him that raised Gamora is the part of him I feel like that made him think he was doing the right thing. but I don't think he went about it the right way. I don't think you should have killed half of the population. I think, like there's a better way to go around it. Like Brave said, increasing resources or something like that. Gauntlet, there is no limitations with it. You can do whatever you want. So I would assume, like, anything that the person with it can come up with, I would assume you would be able to do. So I don't know. I feel like he was half right, half wrong. I feel like his ideology of fixing the world and fixing like planets and stuff because he watched what happened to his own planet, like that was right. The way he went about and to correct it was wrong. And like I mean that, and we've seen that in history too. Massive population control, it doesn't work. So like I don't know. I think Thanos took a little bit from history, and he. I see Braves laughing at me.
Something you just said, random, but it's like communism. In theory, it works. In
theory, it works because everybody gets what they need. Blah blah blah. But in practice, that's not how it works.
Right.
Everybody doesn't need the same thing. Everybody needs different things. There's a different. It's like the whole equality versus equity thing.
Yep, exactly.
Thanos' method, in theory, was correct.
Yeah.
In practice,
it was wrong. It wasn't the most humane, and it was wrong. Although that is something that you could argue too. It was more humane than a lot of the other ways that he could have went about wiping off half the population.
Like he did before, because before he was just shooting.
Like on Titan,
shooting them all.
It was just bang.
Like on Titan and on Gamora, and he just killed them. He massacred them instead. So, like, the stones made it a lot less painful. Like, well, maybe not because of the whole I don't feel so good line, but, like, I guarantee feeling like you're going to vomit feels a lot better than feeling like you're going to die, you know?
Yeah, so...
Getting shot, yeah. Okay. Well, actually, one thing about that...
Or getting shot, yeah, exactly.
or that, right. But actually, back to the I don't feel so good thing, if you rewatch Infinity War, Peter Parker is the only one that laughed for a considerable amount of time before he dusts away. That's because of the spider bite. It creates makes him physically more durable. So that's why he felt pain and said I didn't feel so good, was because he had that extra durability compared to everyone else who was just like looking at themselves dust away and then just like within seconds. But he lasted a couple of minutes.
Which is
okay. Well, I was gonna say no, you're wrong, but then I realized I can't say you're wrong because there's no way to prove it. We have 10 minutes left. Wow. But also there's no way to prove whether you're wrong or right because Captain America didn't bust.
Right.
Cap had dusted. We would know whether that's true or not.
But Bucky dusted instantly, and he's a super soldier.
Well, okay, hold on.
Oh yeah, you're right. He has the same serum.
Yeah.
So their relative strength is about the same. Yeah, Spidey is stronger than Cap, but like
you have a metal arm?
Yeah, exactly. Like he's stronger, but relatively, wouldn't you think that like the same thing would happen to Cap and Bucky? Like they wouldn't feel good, like it would hurt.
True. I mean, unless I don't know with Bucky,
Disney magic.
Disney magic. Yeah.
Okay,
just imagine.
Okay, hold on. So, okay. Steve and Bucky have two completely different super soldier serums.
Yeah, they're two different serums.
Yeah, exactly. That's what I was gonna say.
And actually, the best,
not nearly as strong as Cap.
I was gonna say Cap got the little nice wrapped in plastic. Here you go, sir. Like, yeah, Bucky was tortured, experimented on, and injected a gajillion different times with so many different substances. No one could truly recreate how the Winter Soldier was made because there is so many years of like
except
that.
One person who was not in Endgame. The original Black Cat. Not Felicia Hardy, her father. The one who created the super serum soldier.
But is
the super soldier serum.
Is that relevant in the MCU though? Because we're talking MCU timeline. Like that's kind of where I'm focusing because I know there's comic book lines where there's like.
Well, yeah, no, I'm not talking like comic book, not specifically comic book. I'm more referring to like if Black Cat was in it, you could also use her because she is stronger than Captain America and she took the same serum as him. I guess that's what
really.
Yes, she's stronger than Captain America. Watch the '94 animated series. Watch the '94 animated series. She fights Captain America and kicks his butt.
Well, okay, so also Peter Parker and like
It's crazy.
Spider-Man is stronger than both Captain America and Bucky, because one, he just casually palms Bucky's giant arm, and
Yeah.
Bucky
Metal
is
arm.
technically kind of stronger than Cap a little bit. If you look, at least from the
I don't
Winter-
know if he's stronger than Cap, but I'll say he can hold his own.
Okay, so
He can
Winter
definitely hold his own.
Soldier versus Cap
Well-
is different than Bucky versus Cap, because Bucky will hold back at some degree. Winter Soldier is
Well,
like
so does
kill
Peter.
mission.
Yeah, I was gonna say, so does Peter. He holds
All
back
Peter
the
does is
time.
hold back. If Peter didn't hold back, he'd kill every single person he lays a finger on.
Yeah, so like
Yeah, he'd punch a hole straight.
There's a
through
comic book line about that. Like,
Yeah.
he just stops
Yeah,
holding back
yeah,
and kills
exactly.
every enemy he has.
say, Peter
And I
Parker
mean,
is
each
stronger.
Spider-Man will hold back at different levels. Like the Insomniac Spider-Man, he's like 50%.
That guy gets
there.
nerfed by a
He's
fridge.
He's like,
We
nah,
can't even bring
I'm gonna
him
throw
up.
a miss-
We
Right,
can't
he's
bring
like,
him
I'm
up. He gets nerfed by fridges.
Okay, but that also took him off guard, and also his Venom and like his girl.
No.
You got-
How
okay,
you get caught
you
off
got-
guard with spider senses? How you
Okay,
get caught off
but
guard
you
with spider
gotta-
senses?
You gotta think about.
Oh,
I think this is
Right.
the first
Okay,
time
if
we're
we're talking-
actually
if we're
like getting like
if
a
we're
little.
talking-
We're getting a little
We're
heated.
getting a little heated, but okay.
If we're talking about Spidey sense not working, let's rewatch Tobey Maguire's
Let's watch
Spider-Man
Tobey
3 real
Maguire.
quick. When does Spidey sense come in Spider-Man 3?
It
No, every single time. Bro, it barely worked in one with the Goblin's glider.
Oh right, yeah.
Yeah, that
Yeah,
was.
You guys
it,
remember
works
that, right?
for
Like,
half the
he
movie
didn't-
in Spider-Man 1.
In one, the glider was floating as he realized. Like, he turned around and it was already headed towards him.
Okay, but that was like the
Right,
beginning of
yeah.
Spider-Man days. So like, okay, imagine you were bit by a spider. We don't know. Like, act like we're in a universe where Spider-Man doesn't exist. We don't know this. You're bit by a spider. You get these powers. If you're feeling weird, you're like, what is happening? Like, it takes you a second because you're like, something feels off, and then you instinctively, I guess, look behind you because you're like, something's weird, and then you see that and you're like, oh crap, I probably should move. Like, but I'm like, I think it allows you
yes
more
and
time
no.
Well,
because something
okay, I
feels
see your
weird.
point,
in the
but that
beginning.
doesn't make sense that in Spider-Man 3, he's been Spider-Man for a while
Yeah,
now.
That's
Yeah.
different. I'm
Probably
talking about
got used
Spider-Man
to it,
1.
and then it just never happens in the movie.
Yeah.
Also, in most, well, I'm not gonna say every comic because I haven't read every comic, but in a lot of the Spider-Man comics too, his sense is just something he had in like, it's something he had to learn how to use. Really, it's just like once he realizes what it does, that's when he's like, oh, it's like a danger sense basically, and like he doesn't train himself to use it. He just learns, and that's like a thing in the new comic book line too. The Ultimate Spider-Man, the new one, he doesn't. Like, nobody trains him. He doesn't know anything about it. He just one day does it, and he's like, "Oh, whoa, I can do that."
Yeah.
Right.
So,
Yeah.
Like I don't do breathing.
Don't do
yeah,
breathe.
yeah, like I don't do breathing. Exactly.
I like
It just happens.
like kind of I kind of like looking into the different like spider sense levels and everything because like you got Tom Holland who like sometimes uses it like he can dodge
His
bullets
does
with
not work
bananas.
nearly as much as it should.
Okay, hold on.
Yeah, and then Toby, he's got like it works about 50% of the time. But in my opinion, Andrew has the best spider
The best.
sense.
He does.
Because he senses danger for himself, but also the people around him. Because when he's on like the little date with Gwen, right? He sends Electro in Times Square. That's not immediately affecting him or endangering him
It's
at
just
all.
a
It
city.
endangers other people. So
Yep.
yeah, I really like Andrew's Spidey sense and the way it works because it alerts danger like not just to him but to like others around him. And I really like that.
Yeah.
So non-live action, the '94 series does a really good job of like depicting the spider sense because there'll be nothing around him. Like you can't see anything, you can't hear anything, and just all of a sudden the screen will like have red and blue flashing around him, and he'll turn around and see it, and it's just like he doesn't get taken by surprise. Like Spider-Man should not get taken by surprise. There is no learning curve with the spider sense. There is just you almost get hit in the back by something one day and you catch it, or like it's a reflex. It's not.
Yeah, more
It's
like a
literally
reflex,
like
not a
Brave said.
learning
It's
curve.
like breathing. They don't do it. It just happens.
Yeah. Well, and I think like I think in the beginning of when you're like Spider-Man and stuff, I think it depends on the spider you probably got bit by too. I think there's differing levels of, but I don't know. I mainly focus on the live action Spider-Mans and then Gwen and like Miles, just because those are the ones that I'm usually that and like the PS5 one, but like I haven't really looked into any of the other show ones, so I probably need to look at those. But I bet like I think it just depends like situational wise too, because if you look at like isn't PS5 Spidey where it's like the stress going on in his life affects his powers? Like
No.
I thought I read something where it's
the
like
symbiote.
The symbiote dulls his spider sense,
okay.
but
Yeah.
it's not like the stress or anything.
I thought there was I might be wrong.
There is a Spider-Man that is like that, and I don't remember which one it is, but it's
Tobey Maguire. Tobey Maguire.
Because what I was going to say is it's effectually the same thing as
Right.
Toby's web blockage when he gets stressed,
Yeah.
but it is a spider sense blockage. I think it's Tom Holland that gets it, actually.
Maybe I don't know.
Because think about how hard he had to focus Mysterio's illusion to
Right.
find his way around. I think it's Tom
I think
that struggles the most.
I think also
with his
because we
spider
see
sense.
Tom so
Yeah.
early in the Spider-Man, like, because if you look at all the other Spider-Man and stuff, it's usually towards the end of their high school, and then Tom started when he was 14. So like,
Which
I
is
think
every spider. Okay, that's my thing. Don't look at the and I know you can't do this because you don't know, but every Spider-Man has been bitten at 14 or 15. No Spider-Man like Tobey Maguire and Andrew Garfield are. I'm gonna say it. I'm just gonna say it. They're too old to be Spider-Man. Those movies, I won't watch them again. Like, and look at them and be like, that is a child. That it's not a 15-year-old Spider-Man. You're looking at a 20-something-year-old Tobey Maguire and telling yourself that's 15. You're crazy. You're crazy.
It's like all the high school scenes in Spider-Man 1.
And that's
all
just not
like
that's
a
not
bunch
just
of
Spider-Man
20-year-olds.
for me. That's anything.
I
If
hate
you're an
okay.
actor who does not wait, hold on real quick. Let's just so that way when people watch this, they don't think I was ripping on Toby.
I was gonna say,
To make
buddy,
sure
you
this
gotta-
gets in the video. I was not ripping on Toby. He is just not a 20 or a 16, 15,
Really?
14-year-old Spider-Man. I can look at Toby and be like, okay, that is a 20-year-old Spider-Man. That is a Spider-Man that is my age. Like that's a Spider-Man that could be a dad, you know? Like but he's not a kid. But Andrew, a little different. Like he maybe 18, but not 14. He's just too tall. But let's go back to Thanos now.
Okay, so like to spin it back, I guess this is more funny take on Thanos of things he said that were technically right. So in the in-game fight, when Wanda is, obviously just came back from the blip, grieving, literally just watched her boyfriend, husband, I don't know what they were, get his head thing, and she's, I can't remember what he said, or what she said, or, she was like, you took everything from me, and he's like, I don't even know who you are. He was right, he had no idea, because, like, it was different Thanos, so he was like, okay, and he's just...
Hey, lady, calm down.
Oh yeah,
He didn't really know. Right. He was like,
well, I mean, technically, it was the same Thanos, but just from a different timeline.
Yeah.
So thus, it is a separate variant. Because I think, not to get off topic, but I think when you pull the same person from a different part of the timeline, that becomes a variant.
yeah.
Because like in Loki, it's the MCU Loki, but he comes out in the Avengers movie with the Tesseract, but then he becomes a variant.
Yeah.
So the way you become a variant is just by getting yoinked out of your time or doing the wrong thing in your time that you weren't supposed to do.
Yeah.
Or just like other multiverse in general.
Yeah.
That's what I'm saying. Getting moved from one multiverse to another and one timeline to another, or doing something that you're not supposed to do.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So yeah. I agree with that.
So like sometimes
what about Thor chopping Thanos' head off?
I mean, Thor really should have gone for the head if he wanted to, kill Thanos.
I think honestly, but though, like, I don't know. I think that was stupid, honestly.
I think Thor holds a lot of power, and I think he just, when you have the rage one, he watched his brother, his friend.
That's what I was gonna say. I think he let his emotions get the control of him because what they could have done and what they didn't think about until they were like, oh, now we got to go back in time and get all the stones. If you hadn't killed Thanos and you had found him, like, I don't know, 6 months sooner, you probably could have gotten the gauntlet.
But they didn't find him.
Thor could have chopped his hand off instead during the fight.
Or
They didn't do that.
or they just should have left Peter Quill on the spaceship.
Yes, that's
Yeah.
Oh my
that's-
gosh.
Everything would have been fine.
Yeah.
I
He ruined the fight on Titan.
Like-
Titan.
Spidey literally had it off.
I
Yeah,
would
was
he
literally-
did. He slipped it. It slipped. There's like a cut
You
frame
can't
on
see.
YouTube of it in slow motion. The gauntlet slips off Thanos' arm.
Yeah.
Like, he has like 3 fingers on it, and then
Yes,
His
he had like
thumb
3
was
fingers
out.
on it, and it was
Yeah.
His
Yeah.
thumb was out, but like also if you like step back and look at it, if you were probably in Peter Quill's position, I think it depends on the person, but like you would be pretty mad too, and I don't think he was thinking logically, but I also don't think Thor was. I think the battle with Thanos was such a messy because everyone had their own personal vendetta against him, or he, had his own.
they weren't the Avengers. They were just
Yeah.
a bunch of superheroes fighting one supervillain.
Yeah.
They weren't the
Endgame.
Avengers. There were a bunch of superheroes out for vengeance
Yes.
themselves and their loved ones, not avenging people that needed it.
Right. Which I feel like, yeah, with that it's like, it shouldn't even be called Avengers Infinity War then. It's just call it Infinity War and then call it Avengers Endgame, because then that's when they all come together and work together and everything.
Yeah.
I don't know, just idea. But yeah, another thing with what I've seen this in a couple of videos before about Thor not going for the head is because he was so enraged because of all the death he caused to Asgard and Loki and Heimdall, all that, so that he wanted Thanos to feel pain and see Thor killing him as a show of power, because he's the god of thunder. So and Thor's always been a hothead anyway, so it's yeah.
Until they
Yeah,
ruined
that's fair.
him in Love and Thunder.
Until they ruined him in Love and Thunder.
Did you? I think Chris Hemsworth.
Even Chris Hemsworth is like, I hated that movie.
Yeah.
I don't know if y'all have
it's-
seen that on
I
Instagram.
saw it.
Chris is like, I hated that movie. He wants to do another one.
I was okay.
Well, yeah, because they
until
gotta
the
have him
screening
against
goes.
Hercules or something.
You gotta make it right though. You gotta fix that last movie.
Like they gotta
Yeah,
make
I
fun of
need
it in the
Ragnarok
movie,
Thor.
treat it as an
No.
hour of his life, where you're like when you look back at old memories and you're like, why did I do that? I feel like they need to
Yeah.
Yeah.
Uh-huh.
to Thor. But
Yeah.
going back to the
Also-
Thanos thing, sorry, you can go.
No, you're good.
Okay.
I was just gonna say also, in Endgame and Infinity War, Thor had the weirdest storyline. Can we just acknowledge that really quick? He had the weirdest storyline.
I think
Getting
Not
fat,
Infinity
becoming
War.
an alcoholic, and
Okay, yeah, Endgame.
Oh,
Endgame.
yeah. Endgame Thor, yeah.
yeah, okay, you're right. It was
Infinity War Thor is awesome.
This all
Love
took
Infinity
place
War.
at the end of Infinity War, technically, in between
Yeah.
him
Yeah.
getting fat and all that and becoming an alcoholic. It's kind of random because it's you're not the only superhero who got screwed out of something,
Well, and I think
Yeah.
we talked about that at the panel at Comic-Con, because we were talking about how they kind of just made a mockery out of Thor.
Mhm.
And it's kind of frustrating to see, because it's different to see a god break down and go into a depression. But I think they kind of
Yeah.
spun it into a joke, and more of, they could have taken it down where he was kind of hitting rock bottom, and
They
the
didn't make it
OG6
as serious
can't-
as what they wanted. They should have done.
There's so many
Yeah.
different ways they could have gone around it, and I think they just chose a wrong. They chose
to they chose, instead of depressed Thor, fat Thor, and they realized that they were gonna make a joke with it, and I think they ran with it.
Yeah. I mean,
Yeah.
it
That's
was
not
a
what they
fun
should have
joke
done.
at the time, but now looking back at it, you're just like, that wasn't the way to go about it.
No, it was a bad decision. He lost his brother, his father, his mother, everything. He has lost everything
entire
in the
city.
MCU.
I
His
mean,
entire home. His
he
entire
lost
home
more.
is gone. His best friend Heimdall, everybody is gone. And you chose to make him a fat drunk who yells at kids on Xbox? Okay.
Fortnite.
Weird choice,
Fortnite.
guys.
Playing Fortnite.
Fortnite.
Yeah, playing Fortnite of all things, yeah.
But
Yeah.
Well,
Yeah.
maybe they chose make him for another reason, so we could have a more balanced fight. I feel like if Thor wasn't fat at the end of Endgame, the fight would have been over quite quickly.
Yeah, I agree.
Or with
when we were watching with our dad,
Thor with Stormbreaker and Captain America with Mjolnir, the two of them both having the ability to control lightning and godlike powers, yeah, it would have been too OP.
Okay, but,
Yeah,
I agree.
but
And then
if you look at
one
Thanos,
thing, like when we were watching it, my dad, our dad said, it's like, is it really taking Iron Man, Captain America, and Thor to take this guy down? Like, is he really that powerful?
if you look at,
He has a
if
buck
you look at
knife.
it though, we
Yeah.
don't really truly know how strong Thanos is, because one, it was a different variant of Thanos, so like we didn't know what that one.
Same time period.
Also, same time period, but like, you know, also
He just hadn't gotten the gauntlet yet.
He had his the thing, you know, I don't know the name of it, but it was the spinny. And that literally broke down Cap's shield. Like, Cap's shield was basically just, you know.
Mm-hmm.
So, like,
So
I think the fight varies, like, and I might be very incorrect about this, but I think every superhero, no matter what's going on in your life, the reason you're fighting, it will always play an effect of what strength you have. Like, no matter what superhero, like if you look at Iron Man, when he's like more fighting for himself, he wasn't fighting nearly as hard. But then if you like look back at when he was in the cave, he was way more determined to get out and live his life after, I can't remember his name, it hurts my heart, but like after his kind of like friend died in the cave, he was way more determined. And I think
Right.
like
Yeah.
Tony losing Peter made him so much more determined to fight Thanos this time around. And then I feel like I should have a reason to why Cap fought hard, but I can't think of it right now. And then Thor definitely had way more thought process of going through it just because he dealt with like, all this grief and stuff. But
I think
it was
Cap
hard to
fought
fight
harder
it.
because he knew that he would get a chance to go back to Peggy
Yeah.
if he beat Thanos. I think he knew that he would be able to get what he wanted out of everything.
And I think Cap, like, always will have his own reasons of fighting. Because if you look back at Endgame, when literally everyone else is gone, it is just Cap left. And I saw this thing on TikTok, and it was like I can't pronounce it right, but the indomitable human spirit, and like Thanos learning that it wasn't a myth. Because Cap just gets right back up. His shield's broken. His arm's cut into. There is nobody behind him. Absolutely no one. And Thanos has this giant army headed this way. Cap would have easily died in, like, he would have put up a fight, but he would die. And he just marched into the fight.
Yeah, I was gonna say, I was like, well, that's even from the first event, like Captain America first Avenger movie. It's like that's always been his personality. One thing that drives his character is I can do this all day, and like always get back up. So like with that, yeah, being said, I think that's one of his motivations for doing that. But no, I agree with you. Motivation definitely plays a role into anyone's strength and power. Like even here, like
not even just heroes, like anti-heroes and like Deadpool, even
I think everyone,
like losing Vanessa. How much harder did you fight for? I don't know if you two have seen Deadpool 2. I have to assume you have. No?
Yeah, I have not yet.
Any Deadpool yet because I haven't watched.
Oh, we can't. None of us can be friends anymore.
I'm sorry. I have strict.
That is the best movie ever, and none of you have seen it.
Bye.
Oh wow. Okay. Bye.
It's over.
No,
we're breaking up. The Spider Pals are done.
Spider Pals are no more.
No, but like, okay, so like in the movie, there's this kid named Russell, and he's like destined to become a bad guy and like wipe out Cable's entire like the future and all of that. And like Deadpool like loses his girl, and he's just like, and that changes him. He's like, nah, I'm gonna fight for this kid. Like, I'm not, no, like. And yeah, I really do think that you're right. I think having something or someone to fight for will change. And that's not even just superheroes. That's everybody.
Yeah.
Like when like for me, for instance, is example, like there was a while ago where like I didn't feel like I really had a reason to, and then I had a kid, and you know that's my reason to fight. That's my reason to keep going. So it's like for anyone, all it takes is that one reason, and it can make you a whole different person.
I think for
for
everybody,
sure.
No matter the like even if it's in real life, like for me, my example was when I couldn't walk for 10 months, and I was because I've had 5 surgeries on my legs, and I've never been more determined to get back to walking because you you finally learn what it's like to live without something. And I think heroes, when they have, like, when they go through something or a loved one gets hurt or they die, you finally realize how much you didn't realize how you depended on that. And then you can't bring it back, so you're going to do everything you can to just, fight for that person.
For what they stand for.
So I think, and then also with fighting Thanos, because we have the two different variants of Thanos. The first Thanos we fought in Infinity War and that died early Endgame, when he killed Gamora, he was kind of fighting to justify why he killed Gamora. He was like, I did all of these bad things that I know are kind of bad, but I was doing it for a reason. I need to succeed with this reason. And I think that's why we weren't able to beat Thanos during then. But in Endgame, you get a Thanos where, he started and he's worked hard, but he didn't really put in all the effort to get the stones. He didn't kill Gamora. He didn't, go through all of the processes that the real Thanos did. So he much more was like, oh, like, I have a big ego now because one of me did it. So I can do it too.
with these guys.
Yeah, so he thought he was better than everyone, and I think that's what took him out. Because I think if we got a Thanos that was still trying to justify his actions, I think the fight would have been much harder. But since he was so, like... That's my alarm, sorry. But, like, I think if we got a Thanos that was very determined to fight, I think Endgame would have came out a lot differently. But, it depends.
Yeah, I don't think Thanos' heart was fully in it.
Yeah.
I think, like, he believed what he was doing, but I don't think he fully believed in what he was doing. I don't think he thought, like, oh, I'm really making any type of difference. I think he thought, okay, yeah, I'm doing that. Like, yeah, you can see, like, oh, yeah, I'm wiping a world away half at a time. But, like, in the grand scale, on the grand scale, that's not one planet at a time to somebody like him. That can't be that much. So, yeah, I don't think he was fully, like, into it. Like, I think it was what he desired, but I think after, like, the original Thanos, after killing Gamora and all of that, like, I feel like you could see it in his eyes before he killed her. Like, he didn't want to take that step. But he knew that he had to reach his goal.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, that's one thing that I've always wondered, and I wish Endgame touched on, or like Infinity War Endgame touched on more, was just yes, wipe out half the universe, right, with the stones, but why? Why did he want to do that? Like, was it truly out of, like, good intentions to, like, make people, like, the other percent that die happy? Or is, like, what were his even motivations for even wiping out half the universe in the first place?
Is it happened on his own planet?
Right, well, they touched on that a little bit, right? But in the comics, it's to, like, impress this, like, it's to impress this, like, goddess of death or something, and Deadpool...
I was gonna say, it's like this whole, like, over, like, God plan type thing.
Right,
like,
yeah.
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 It's kind of like how, like, Null, like, with Null and the symbiotes, kind of.
Mm-hmm.
So...
I
don't know. I definitely think that he was right in certain aspects and wrong in others.
Yeah, for sure.
Certainly, I think Thanos is I think with every villain, I think Marvel, after Endgame, it's been a little touchy, but, like, I think Marvel has done such a good job I can't speak, sorry. I think Marvel's done a really good job of creating villains where it's not as black and white as everyone thinks, because you have, like... where everyone's like, oh, there's good and bad guys. There's not just good and bad guys. There's anti-heroes. There's villains who are kind of right and kind of wrong, and they're fighting for a reason that it's, all of it is just gray. You don't really, like, get where...
Like Dr. Doom.
Yeah, like, you don't get where it's like, oh, this is right, this is wrong. Not all the time. Like, it's, it's a touchy subject, and I think Marvel, especially with Thanos, did a very good job of portraying where it's like, he kind of was right, but he was also wrong. And I'll have conversations with my dad all the time, because I joke with my dad that he's like Thanos, because he kind of is. And he always argues with me that Thanos is kind of right. And we will get into debates about it, and he's finally kind of changed my mind on it, where Thanos was kind of, in most ways, was fighting for something that kind of was right. He was doing it for the good of the universe. He wasn't looking at it individually. So that's why it seemed so cruel to us, because, you know, it's like our planet, but he was thinking, but it's the planet. Like, there's, you know, save humanity or save one person. And I think that's a battle that every superhero is going to have to choose.
It's not even just superheroes. Look at Doctor Doom. Same thing. His whole I don't know how much you guys know about Doctor Doom, but the
Fortnite.
kingdom of Latveria he created to be a peaceful land ruled by him. But the problem with that is he's a dictator.
Yeah.
He has complete power and no one to put that in check. So Latveria, while yes is a very peaceful place, if one person steps out of line, they could even mean death. Like, you know, so, and that, I think Thanos is a lot like Doctor Doom in that regard, where, like, he was trying to do what he thought was best, and at the end of the day, it still had, like, it's that 50-50. You're not, there is no, in my opinion, there is no he was good or he was bad. I think he was both. I think he was a bad person with good intentions in a bad way of going about it, but I also feel maybe the opposite. He was a good person who had a bad life and then made bad decisions in an attempt to do a good thing.
I think Marvel made a balance, or like, I think Thanos' quote kind of goes into this, where it's like perfectly balanced as all things should be. I think Thanos was a perfectly balanced villain.
Yeah. Like I said, he was perfectly balanced, 50% evil, 50% good. He had evil ideologies, he had good ideologies, he had a good side to him, and he had a bad side to him. Yeah. Like, a true villain isn't going to care about throwing their daughter off of a cliff. Thanos hesitated.
Yeah. So I think to wrap up today's episode, it's kind of both. Thanos there's no right or wrong. It's perfectly balanced.
50-50. Perfectly balanced, as all
things should be.
That's the Spider Pals podcast.
Yep.
So I think that's going to be it for today's episode. I think this one might be a little longer than the past ones we've had, but
that works.
Yeah. So yeah, I think today's episode is very interesting. I think one day we should talk about Ultron. I think we should do like a little
Ultron.
Yep. Yeah, that'd be fun.
Yeah, so
I'm just gonna say I think we're all gonna be in agreement that he was right.
I feel like,
especially about Tony Stark.
Yeah,
definitely about Tony.
I'm such a big Tony Stark defender. I am
so.
Tony Stark what made me fall in love with the MCU, so I will always defend him. But Ultron was right, so we'll touch into that next episode, though, and I think it's probably time for us to sign off. That's it for today's episode.
Thank you guys so much for watching.
Be sure to swing by and check out the rest of our episodes.
Don't forget to web up that like button and subscribe.
Catch you on the next one.
One wasn't. Yeah. So. Yo! Finally! Okay.
Where's Vinny?
I don't know. He's been waiting here.
What do you mean you don't know?
I don't know. I sent him the email. But just... It's intimidating, man. I don't...
You should know.
No. I'm out.
Isn't he gonna give it to me now?
No, I'm good.
Let's see, yeah.
Air. Besides that, we're good. I know. Shocker.
Oh, okay. I'm chilling right now. My massive white spider logo.
Looks like you guys are dancing.
Huh?
Looks like you guys are dancing on my screen.
I don't think so.
I can't take this. That shot's going in the blooper reel.
I keep from all liquids never be on me. Some things you just can't do.
Okay, so
Hey guys, the shield. Oh, it's on me.
oh,
Gone.
My mask is off.
oh my gosh, ow!
He's cheating.
That was another problem I have with my symbiote, is ripping it off of my face. Feels like I'm actually fighting the thing.